my weekend playing through Ori and the Blind Forest, and I want to give the game a certain amount of props because I did, for the most part, enjoy it, but, and this is a very big but, Ori and the Blind Forest was hyped up as being one of the best indie games in recent memory, and it really isn't. It really can't match up to Hollow Knight for one, another game in the same genre. But I also can't help comparing it to other Metroid games, other Metroid-like games. Super Fusion, the Castlevania games, Guacamelee came to mind. Countless other games that I think are better than this. I really do think the appeal of Ori is basically just basic bitch Metroid like game. You know what I mean? Like, go to a place, get power ups, go to another place. It's visually interesting. It has some interesting moments to it. The escape sequences come to mind, but like it's bogged down quite a bit by the weird difficulty curve. It plays more like a platforming game than it does a Metroid-like game. Like, combat isn't really a doesn't really have a presence. Like, you literally have this thing following around that shoots things automatically. You don't have to aim. You have this little ball of light that shoots light bolts of light at the enemies around you, and it's interesting. It's functional, but it somehow feels less like it takes less skill, right, than a Metroid game or a Castlevania game would. You know what I mean? Like, it feels more like your main deal is just to avoid the enemy attacks, and they're everywhere. And for some reason, this game only takes like 3 or 4 hits for it. For some reason, Ori can only take 3 or 4 hits before dying, and you have to go back to a checkpoint. Which, by the way, you can set checkpoints whenever. It's really strange. The game has this really bizarre difficulty where you'll be dying a lot, but you have so many checkpoints, unlimited amount of checkpoints, and you can lay them whenever, and you can just try them over and over again. But you keep dying anyway because the game is just really weirdly designed. Like, it's very, very difficult, especially during these escape sequences, to know what exactly your the best route to take and how exactly to avoid all these enemies. And it feels like a skilled player should be able to navigate this entire landscape without dying, but you'll be dying all the time because of like the weird way in which there are one-hit KOs everywhere, falling objects during the escape sequences. Like, it just feels unintuitive, right, compared to Hollow Knight or Super Metroid or Fusion or any of these other Metroid-like games. Like, I found it somewhat underwhelming. I say somewhat because, again, the game isn't incompetently made or anything like that. It's definitely a step up from something like, Uncharted or the PlayStation equivalent. I'm not sure what the PlayStation equivalent of a Metroid-like game would be. Oh, it is better than Symphony of the Night, for sure. Yeah, for sure. But I do feel, to a certain extent, that the game has gotten a bit more praise than it probably deserves. I'm interested in seeing whether Will of the Wisps, the sequel to this, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, is better in any way. I'm very curious as to whether it improves in the formula or not, because there's plenty of things I liked about the game, but to say it's great, that's a bit of an overstatement, I think. Like, it's a solid 7 out of 10 for me. 6, 7 out of 10. Maybe a 6 is too low, but yeah, I enjoyed it. But that's because I love Metroid-like games, and I don't really. And I'm always looking to play more of them. But Ori didn't quite do it for me. It wasn't quite what I anticipated, and I think it could have been a lot better.